I had never seen so many camels in one place. They were kneeling by the well outside our village, their shadows stretching long in the afternoon sun. Dust hung in the air, and the animals flicked their tails lazily. 10 camels. I remember counting them twice just to be sure. The man standing beside them was older with a calm, serious face. His clothes were simple but worn from travel, and he held the camel's reins like he had been walking a long time. There was something about him, quiet but heavy, like he carried more than just supplies. I wasn't the only one staring. A few of us lingered near the well, watching from a safe distance. He didn't look like trouble, but strangers were rare, and something about him felt different. When he walked over to the well, I thought he was going to ask for food. Instead, he bowed his head and started praying out loud.
Lord, God of my master Ibrahim,
he said, his voice steady but soft.
Let the girl who offers water to me and my camels be the one you have chosen for Ishaku.
I frowned. That was no ordinary prayer. Do you know how much a camel drinks? Hey, after a long journey, it can take ages to fill them up. 10 camels could drain that well dry before they were satisfied. No one would offer that. But before I could scoff, Rebecca walked past me. She was carrying a jar on her shoulder, just like the rest of us. She didn't look any different that day, except maybe her eyes were a little brighter, like they usually were when she had a plan. The servant watched her closely, but he didn't say anything. When she finished filling her jar, he stepped forward.
Please,
he said,
let me have a little water from your jar.
I thought she would hand it to him and be on her way, but she smiled and lowered it quickly.
Drink, sir,
she said, holding the jar steady as he drank. Then she said something that made my mouth fall open.
I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have had enough.
Hey, Madam Tudu. I saw the servant's hand tighten around the jar, his eyes widening just slightly, but Rebecca didn't notice. She set the jar down, hurried back to the well and started pulling water again. I counted. She ran back and forth between the well and the trough, filling it up over and over. She didn't stop until every last camel looked satisfied. By then, the servant was just standing there, staring at her in silence. Yeah. Finally, he reached into his bag and pulled out gold bracelets and a ring. I remember the way they cut the light, heavy and expensive.
Whose daughter are you?
He asked quietly.
Is there room at your father's house for me to stay the night?
Rebecca didn't even hesitate.
I am the daughter of Bethel,
she said,
son of Nahu.
Then she added,
we have plenty of room and straw for your camels.
I followed Rebecca as she hurried home to tell her family. My heart was racing, and I wasn't even the one he gave the gold to. That night, the servant sat with Rebecca's family. I stayed near the doorway, listening as he explained everything. How Ibrahim had sent him to find a wife for Ishaku, and how he prayed at the well.
Before I finished praying,
he said,
Rebecca came with her jar.
His voice trembled, like the weight of what had happened was only just sinking in. I looked at Rebecca then, but she didn't seem surprised. She sat quietly while her father listened. Then, without any force, her father and brother said,
take her, as the Lord has led.
The next morning, her family asked if she wanted to wait a few days, but Rebecca just stood up and said,
I will go.
That was it. I watched as she climbed onto one of the camels. She rode away with the servant like she had been preparing for this her whole life. I never saw her again, but sometimes when I pass that well, I remember the servant's prayer. One ordinary day, one ordinary girl, and everything changed.